If you're in the market for a new truck or an SUV, you've been holding off because of tariff uncertainty, not sure what's going to happen, truck prices and things, I got some news for you today. We have some rollback of some of the tariffs impacting some of the materials that automakers use, as well as a tax offset program that you may not have heard of because I wasn't sure it even existed. As well as we have a new tariff impacting trucks and buses that may impact your business. Hey, it's Tim, Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk. Let's get the details around pickuptrucktalk.com. Just hot off the presses. Here we go. So this actually happened October 17th, which is a couple days ago. I think it was last Friday. And today's Monday. Got details for you. So Trump gives automakers tariff relief, imposes new tariffs on trucks and buses. So here's what we're talking about. I have a Ram 4500 in this photo here, and this is important because this is one of the trucks we're talking about. We're not talking about heavy-duty trucks in the term of 2500 and 3500. We're talking medium duty, semi trucks, garbage trucks, chassis cab, that kind of stuff. So the story is this. The Trump administration is rolling back tariffs on automakers on key things as far as they're extending a tax relief program. So it's in a way rolling back the tariffs. We're also talking about some metals, so aluminum and steel, which is very important because there's a fire at a big aluminum supplier that's going to impact prices. And so maybe a big deal for Ford, especially. It's also formally imposing new tariffs on imported trucks, buses, and other medium and heavy-duty trucks. And again, there's a couple different ways we classify trucks. There's two different classification systems. And in this case, we're using a different classification system that I was not aware of that is going to look at heavy-duty trucks as being semi-trucks and things like this. Medium duty is a different classification. So what you need to know boils down to these long words I can say is basically this. Vocational work trucks, a 3500 or a F250, 350, whatever, are considered light duty in the classification system. So under the proclamation signed October 17th, President Trump approved a 25% tariff on imported medium and heavy duty trucks and parts, along with 10% duty on buses. Now that starts November 1st. I have a whole story on this. If you click here on the story, and I'll put a link to this story in the description of this video so you can follow the news. And basically, GM and Ford are happy with this plan. Ram is pissed, and GM and Ford are pissed at Ram for trying to get a tariff relief for that plan. So there's a big drama there in Detroit. Now, at the same time, Trump extended through 2030 an existing tariff offset program that provides cost relief for automakers assembling vehicles domestically. This is a big deal. And again, a tariff offset program I wasn't aware of, and maybe you weren't aware of either, which is really a big deal here as far as we understand it. My source for this and the sources I've read online were just kind of confused how this is all going to work out. But here we go. So the tariff relief is extended through 2030. Yeah, did you know this program existed? So the administration first introduced the tariff offset in April, shortly after imposing the 25% tariff on imported vehicles. Here we go. Automakers can now continue to apply for an offset worth 3.75% of the total sticker price of vehicles assembled in the U.S. through April 30th of 2030. 3.75% of the total sticker price of vehicles assembled in the U.S. in 2030. President Trump's term ends January 29 of 2029. So basically, throughout his entire term now, they can apply for this offset through the Department of Commerce. The program was originally set to decline to 2.5% in 2026 before being phased out entirely by 2027. So he was, in effect, giving automakers less than 2 years to move plants from Mexico to Canada to the United States, which, according to automakers, was logistically impossible. They've told me that it takes at least 5 years to move a plant, and it's like $5 billion per plant to move it. So it's just wouldn't be able to work. Now, the extension represents a significant victory for automakers and suppliers as well, because you're not just talking about just moving the plant. You got to move all the suppliers too. And you remember some of the stories coming out from this was like even a seatbelt went across the border 13 times. So you got to move all the suppliers around, and that's a lot. Now, both those groups have argued they need more time to expand domestic production capacity for vehicles and parts. It's very difficult. According to administration officials, the 3.75% offset roughly matches the tariff burden a manufacturer would face if 15% of a vehicle's value were sourced from imported components subject to a 25% duty. Does that make sense to anybody? uh, okay, so I reached out to a source because I was like, I'm not feeling great today. I have a little cold, I think, coming on. So I was like, what is going on with this? So how does the tariff relief actually work and who benefits? So thankfully, Stephanie Brindley, principal automotive analyst for S&P Global, a friend of mine who's an analyst, and she's smart as a whip, said, like everything, it is complicated. And thank God she said that. I thought I was like losing my brain. So the offset, according to the administration, works something like this. If an automaker were to reach 85% US or USMCA compliant, which is the US Mexico Canada agreement of sourcing for US production, that's what we call it here in the United States, by the way. It's interesting. Canada and Mexico call it opposite. They basically take the country, put it in the beginning. Anyways, stay on track, Tim. If an automaker were to reach 85% US sourcing for US production, the offset would effectively reduce its tariff bill to near zero using this 33.75% method. So now there are like, what is it, like 20,000 or 30,000 parts in a truck, something like this. Like I think somebody did a study and it was tens of thousands. I shouldn't say the number. It's like tens of thousands. I mean, imagine a part instead of a part instead of a part. Yeah, you're talking if you get down to bolts and washers and everything, right? So the engine has how many parts inside the engine? And I'm talking each individual part. So you're trying to get that number to 85% of all the parts in there. If you get that to 85% of parts coming from Mexico, Canada, and United States, then your tariff on that vehicle is zero using the 3.75% method. So as it stands, USMCA components are still tariff-free because remember the back and forth with Mexico? I actually put that in an article. Look at this. And it's been a hot topic, especially with the sheer number of parts, especially replacement parts coming from Mexico. Oh, I talked about this. So Mexico is considered the largest importer of parts to the U.S., making up 42.886% of all imported automotive parts. This was interesting. That is over $81 billion that we import of automotive parts in the United States out of the $197 billion worth of imported parts in the U.S. each year. So we import $197 billion worth of goods of just automotive parts in the United States every year. And Mexico is 81 billion out of that. That's a huge number. So and that's also why we haven't put a tariff on Mexico produced parts. It'd be fundamentally incredible to put a number on that. Can you imagine 81 billion times 25%? Oh my goodness. The pricing at O'Reilly and Napa and stuff would be insane. And the pricing for trucks and SUVs and everything and warranty work and just the calculation of that is just absurd. You're talking about probably $1 trillion. For the impact of this tariff relief on automakers, Brindley said, all automakers have some non-USMCA compliant content. I think we talked about this in previous videos. Ukraine is actually a major home for building wiring harnesses, of all places. For example, some automakers have more than others, depending on where the non-USMCA parts are coming from. The tariff can be 25%, 15%, or 10%. China is higher. Remember, Japan's got a different tariff rate than other countries do, and the Detroit 3 had a big fit over that because the Japan's rate was negotiated to be lower. So we have all these different tariff rates going on as well. That's why it's also hard to figure out what's going on. But by offsetting the tariff, it'll take some of the sting out of the cost of the content. However, it will have some impact. As it stands, there's no breakdown on how it will impact each OEM and how many parts are in each vehicle. You're talking about it would take years to research each individual component of each individual vehicle and then figure out where it comes from and where it comes from each country. I can't understand that. But we also have more. There is more. Energy production, offset, and development. So Trump also instructed the Commerce Department to create a comparable tariff offset program for engines built in the United States. The offset would be equal 3.75% of the aggregate value of U.S. assembled engines, expected to run concurrently with the vehicle parts program, though no start date has been announced. So if you build an engine in the United States, you could effectively offset tariffs applied to engines built elsewhere. That's what I think with tariffs. The new engine offset aims to support automakers and suppliers investing in domestic powertrain production. So it says key step the administration's broader efforts to bolster U.S. manufacturing and reduce reliance on imported components. So this is a photo of Stellantis engine. So if you build that here in the United States, you could use that to offset tariffs on other coming in. So, and then there's more. So tariffs are reduced for aluminum and steel imports. So this is huge. So in a further move to help automakers, the executive order directs the Commerce Department to reduce steel and aluminum tariffs by upwards of 50%, that are up to 50% right now, for qualifying Mexico and Canadian producers. So if they meet these requirements that they're produced in Canada and Mexico, comply with the North America free trade rules, and be smelted or cast for aluminum or melted and poured for steel in either country, then the tariffs could be lowered to as little as 25% overall. Now, the 25% is where they were, I think, before we started this tariff wars, and it's where they've been in the past. And I don't think anybody's got a problem with those. But when they get 50%, that was a huge issue, and really cost Ford, because Ford, remember, F-150 is all aluminum, and they've used aluminum in a lot of parts. And automakers are now using aluminum for anything that my rule of thumb was anything that swings: doors, hoods, tailgates, everything that swings has aluminum. And so this really makes a big difference, because remember that story I did a couple weeks ago, or maybe a week, whatever it's been, where they had a big fire at the major supplier of aluminum in upstate New York, and analysts expected that to cost Ford $1 billion. Or they could go to Canada and get the aluminum at a 50% tariff. Well, if that tariff is now 25%, not 50%, that's a huge cost savings for Ford. And then they wouldn't have to raise their prices on, or either hold their prices on trucks or decontent their trucks. Remember the 2026 Ford F-150 story I did, where they came up with these new packages for higher trim levels, and they took away some options for other trim levels? They were decontenting their new trucks to try to hold the price line, but they're trying to save money. Interesting. Overall, it's a broader push for U.S. manufacturing. Here's a picture of Belvedere Assembly. That's going to reopen with the new Jeep Compass and the Jeep Cherokee that was announced last week, part of Stellantis's record $13 billion investment in the United States. I think it was $13 billion. I think numbers are crazy in my head. So it's a mix of strategy of trying to get production back to the United States, but also rolling back things to allow automakers more time, because the timelines were just unrealistic. And there's also the other thing was the U.S. Supreme Court. Well, I just double checked. We'll hear oral arguments early in November on whether the tariffs are also legal or illegal in the first place. So grab your bag of popcorn. It's gonna be fun. But so yeah, at the end of the night, end of the day is if you're trying to buy a new truck or SUV, trying to understand whether you should wait a couple months to see if the tariffs will go away and prices will come back down. Because remember, I just a story, I don't know, was it last week, that we have now set a new average transaction price of $50,000. We crested that. $50,000 new average transaction price for last month. Now, partly that was because electric vehicle prices pushed things up, because electric vehicle tax incentive went away. But also electric trucks are more expensive and electric vehicles are more expensive. So will the average transaction price come back down? Will truck prices come back down because automakers won't be pushing their losses into these prices? I don't know. But we just got to keep track of these tariffs like I've been doing on this channel. So I think it does impact truck prices, and I think it does impact overall prices of everything in the economy, because the tariffs get pushed on to consumers. So I think it's great that there's been some adjustments here, and we'll see how this plays out. What do you think? Are you interested in this news? Is it exciting? Is it interesting to you? I think it's interesting to me. But hey, let me know in the comments below. As always, make sure to check out the videos on the channel over here. I'll put the link to the website down there as well. And I will see you down the road.